At 2:17 in the morning, Maya Williams's phone lit up with an alert from the home mobility system. Adult movement detected. Total recorded steps: 4,863. Maya sat up and opened the application. A map of the house appeared on the screen, marked by a trail showing where the movement had occurred. It began in the living room shortly after midnight, continued through the kitchen and garage, then went toward the basement. The person later returned upstairs and moved between the same rooms several times. Another notification appeared. Unusual overnight movement pattern detected. Maya checked the doors and windows through the application. None had been opened. The garage door had remained closed. The front and back doors were still locked. Someone had walked nearly 5,000 steps without entering or leaving the house. Scout was no longer beside her bed. Maya put on her robe and stepped into the hallway. Scout stood in front of the basement door, listening. He looked at Maya when she called his name, but did not leave the door. The movement had stopped 3 minutes earlier. Maya placed her hand on the doorknob. "Maya?" Daniel's voice came from behind her. She turned toward the room that had been converted for his medical care. Daniel was lying in bed, with the blanket pulled over his legs. His wheelchair stood beside the bed. Its brakes were locked, and his slippers were under the footrests. "What are you doing?" he asked. The system sent an alert. "What kind of alert?" "It recorded someone walking through the house." Daniel glanced toward the basement door. "Down there?" Maya had not mentioned the basement. "It recorded movement in several rooms," she said. "Scout probably triggered it." The system identified an adult. Daniel adjusted his pillow. "Then the system is wrong. It recorded 4,863 steps. At this hour, between midnight and 2:14. Daniel looked toward her phone. Which rooms did it show? The living room and kitchen. Maya deliberately left out the garage and basement. Daniel nodded. "That sounds like Scout wandering around. The sensors are designed to separate an animal's movement from a person's. They're 6 years old, Maya. Call the company in the morning." She looked at the wheelchair again. Daniel had not walked since the highway accident. He could move his upper body, but every medical report she had seen stated that he could not support his weight with his legs. "You didn't hear anything?" she asked. "No. I was asleep until you started walking through the hallway." Scout finally moved away from the basement door and stood beside Maya. He continued looking behind them. Daniel reached toward his nightstand. "Can you bring me my water?" The glass was close enough for him to reach, but Maya picked it up and handed it to him. He drank and returned the glass. "You should go back to bed. You have a long day tomorrow." Maya left without answering. In her bedroom, she reviewed the map again. The first movement had been recorded at 12:08. The final steps ended at 2:14. The trail stopped outside her bedroom for almost 4 minutes before moving away. Maya saved a screenshot and sent a copy to her private email account. Then she changed the password on her phone and waited for morning. At 7, she called the monitoring company while preparing breakfast. Daniel sat at the kitchen table in his wheelchair, reading the news on his tablet. Scout had returned to the basement door. A technician named Aaron asked for permission to access the system remotely. "I found the alert," he said. 4,863 steps across 5 sensor zones. "Could my dog have caused it? How much does he weigh?" "About 70 pounds. "No. The sensors measure pressure, weight distribution, and stride length. This was an adult." Daniel stopped scrolling but did not look up. "Could the system have made a mistake?" Maya asked. "One sensor could register an incorrect step. It would not create a continuous route through 5 areas of the house. So someone was walking here? That is what the data shows. Can you identify the person?" "No. Your system tracks movement, not identity. You would need the security cameras for that." The side door opened before Maya ended the call. Colleen Hayes entered carrying coffee and a leather tote. She had been given a key after Daniel returned from rehabilitation and rarely announced her visits. "What happened?" Colleen asked. "The mobility system recorded someone walking through the house last night." "How many steps?" Colleen asked. "Nearly 5,000. Colleen looked at Daniel before answering. "Scout must have triggered it. The technician said it was an adult." Technicians say things like that when they want people to replace equipment. Daniel set down his tablet. "That's what I told her." Maya ended the call. She opened the home security application and selected the living room camera. The live image showed an empty room. She opened the archive and searched between midnight and 3 in the morning. No recording available. She checked the kitchen camera. The same message appeared. The garage footage was also missing. "Did either of you delete the recordings?" Maya asked, looking between them. Daniel frowned. "I haven't logged into that application in months, and I don't even remember the password," Colleen added, dismissively setting her tote down. Maya served breakfast without another word. She deliberately chose not to mention a critical detail from her audit background. The system assigned a unique digital signature to each of their 3 administrator accounts. At 8:42, the automated network log confirmed her suspicion. The footage had been wiped at 2:09 in the morning, exactly 7 minutes before Daniel had called out to her from his bed, and the login token used was not hers. She looked across the kitchen. Daniel and Colleen were discussing his therapy schedule. Neither of them appeared concerned about the person who had walked through the house for more than 2 hours. Maya closed the application without revealing what she had found. Before she could determine who had taken those steps, she needed to understand why someone inside her home wanted them erased. Maya did not mention the deleted footage again. She finished breakfast, washed the pan, and placed Daniel's morning medications beside his plate in the order he expected. The white tablet came first, followed by 2 blue capsules and the smaller yellow pill he took with food. Daniel glanced at the clock. "The coffee is cold. It's been sitting there for 20 minutes. You usually warm it before it gets like this." Maya took the mug, placed it in the microwave, and pressed the button. Colleen remained at the kitchen table, reviewing Daniel's therapy schedule on her laptop as though the overnight alert had already been settled. "Laura is coming at 10, Colleen said. "She may need an extra hour." "Why?" Maya asked. "She's adding balance work." Daniel looked up. "We discussed it last week." No one had included Maya in that discussion, although she arranged the appointments, prepared the room, handled Daniel's transfers, and cleaned the equipment afterward. The microwave stopped. Maya returned the coffee to Daniel. He took a sip. Better. There was no thank you. Maya could not remember when he had stopped saying it. 6 years earlier, the dining room had contained an oak table Daniel had chosen after they married. Maya had complained that it was too large for the room, and Daniel had promised they would fill every chair one day. After the accident, the table was sold to make space for a medical bed, storage cabinets, and a portable lift. At first, everyone said the arrangement would be temporary. Maya had been 24 and working as a compliance auditor for the city of Richmond. She reviewed vendor contracts, traced irregular payments, and prepared reports for senior investigators. Her supervisor had told her she was on track to lead a team within 2 years. Then Daniel's car was struck on the highway during an evening storm. Maya took family leave. When that ran out, she used vacation time. When Daniel returned home from rehabilitation, she requested unpaid leave. By the end of the year, she had resigned. Each decision had seemed temporary when she made it. Daniel needed help transferring from the bed. Then he needed help bathing. He needed someone to organize prescriptions, speak with insurance representatives, confirm therapy visits, manage equipment deliveries, prepare meals, and monitor the trust created from his settlement. Maya told herself she would return to work when things became stable. Stability never arrived. The responsibilities simply became familiar. If you feel for Maya, who quietly gave up her career and 6 years of her life to care for the man she loved, please like this video to show her that her sacrifices matter. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because someone near you may be watching Maya's story with you right now. She crossed the kitchen and opened the cabinet where Daniel's medical supplies were stored. Behind a box of gloves sat a framed certificate from the city auditor's office. It had once hung above her desk. She had moved it into the cabinet when the dining room was converted because Daniel said it made the medical space feel crowded. Beneath the certificate was her old city identification badge. The blue cord had faded, but her photograph still showed the person she had been before her days were measured by pills and appointments. "Maya," Daniel called. She closed the cabinet. "What do you need?" "My tablet charger. It's beside your chair." He looked down. The cord rested near his right hand. "I didn't see it." Maya picked it up and passed it to him. Daniel connected the tablet without looking at her. "I'll send you the monthly trust report this afternoon," Colleen said, closing her laptop. "Include the raw ledger and the itemized transaction list this time," Maya replied calmly. Colleen's hand paused on the screen. "The summary covers everything, Maya. The bank exports are notoriously messy to clean up. I spent years auditing city contracts, Colleen. I'm used to messy data." Daniel shot a sharp look at his wife from across the table. "Why the sudden interest? Is this because of that system alert?" "It's not an alert when data gets manually purged," Maya said, keeping her voice neutral as she wiped the counter. "I just realized I've let my professional skills get rusty. A quick review will be good practice." Colleen lifted her tote, her polite smile tightening. "Don't overwhelm yourself. You already have enough on your plate just keeping this house running." Maya did not answer. Colleen walked out through the side door without checking whether Daniel needed anything. Laura Bennett arrived at 10 carrying a therapy bag and 2 cups of coffee. She wore navy athletic pants and a gray jacket with the Rehabilitation Center's logo. "I brought you the good kind," she told Daniel, handing him one of the cups. Daniel smiled in a way Maya had not seen at breakfast. "You remembered. You complain when I don't." Laura laughed and touched his shoulder before setting down her bag. Maya noticed the familiarity but said nothing. She had watched them become comfortable over the years and had treated it as a positive sign. Daniel often became withdrawn after the accident, and Laura was one of the few people who could make him talk. "What are you working on today?" Maya asked. "Core stability and assisted balance," Laura replied. "Colleen said you needed an extra hour." Laura glanced at Daniel. "Possibly. It depends on how he responds. I can stay nearby if you need help." "We'll be fine." Laura rolled Daniel into the therapy room and closed the door. A few minutes later, Maya heard Daniel laugh. She stood in the kitchen with his empty breakfast plate in her hands. Laura's visits were supposed to be clinical, but their conversations often continued after the exercises ended. Maya had never questioned it because Daniel seemed happier after those sessions. Now she wondered how much of their comfort existed only when she was outside the room. Her phone vibrated. The monitoring company had sent the full overnight movement report. Maya opened it at the kitchen counter. The report showed movement through 5 zones, beginning at 12:08 and ending at 2:14. She scrolled farther and found a section labeled Previous Irregular Activity. There were 7 earlier entries. Most recorded fewer than 100 steps, not enough to trigger a warning. They occurred during afternoons when Maya had been at the grocery store, the pharmacy, or a medical supply office. She checked her calendar against the dates. On every occasion, Daniel had been home. Sometimes Laura had been scheduled to visit. Sometimes Colleen had been there. On 2 dates, neither woman appeared on the calendar. Maya saved the report and closed the application when the therapy room door opened. Laura stepped into the hallway. "Could you bring Daniel some water?" Maya filled a glass and carried it inside. Daniel sat in his wheelchair beside the exercise table. A resistance band lay across his knees. Laura stood near the window, checking something on her phone. Maya handed him the glass, then noticed the upper shelf behind him. A sealed bottle of water that had been pushed against the wall that morning was now near the front edge. The shelf was too high for Daniel to reach from his wheelchair. Maya looked at Laura. "Did you move that bottle?" Laura followed her gaze. "No." Daniel took a drink. "Why does it matter?" "It doesn't," Maya said. She left the room and closed the door behind her. One bottle proved nothing, but it was the first thing in the house that made Maya stop searching for a technical mistake and begin searching for a person. The next night passed without another movement alert, but Maya did not sleep well. She checked the application several times and found no unusual activity. At 6:30 in the morning, she opened the system log instead of the movement map. The basement sensor had been disabled at 1:43. It had remained off for 37 minutes before being turned on again. Maya checked the other sensors. The living room, kitchen, and hallway had continued operating. Only the basement had been disabled. She took a screenshot and opened the technical support chat. A representative named Melissa responded after Maya provided the account information. "Could the basement sensor turn itself off during an update?" Maya asked. "No. A software update would affect the entire system." "What about a weak connection?" "That would appear as a signal interruption." Your log shows a manual shutdown. Can you tell where it was disabled? It came from an authorized control point, either the wall panel in the home office or an administrator account. Maya looked toward the hallway. The home office had once been Daniel's workspace. Since the accident, Colleen used it whenever she reviewed trust documents, and Laura sometimes left her bag there during therapy. Can you tell which account was used? The detailed administrator record requires a formal request from the account owner. I'm the account owner. Then I can send the request form to your email. Maya thanked her and ended the chat. Daniel was awake when she entered his room. He was holding his tablet and reading a real estate article. The basement sensor was turned off last night, Maya said. He did not look up. Maybe the system reset itself. The company said it was done manually. Daniel lowered the tablet. Are we going to do this every morning now? I'm trying to understand what happened. You already called them yesterday, and someone deleted the camera footage. You said it wasn't your account. That doesn't mean anyone here did it. There are only 3 administrator accounts. Daniel's expression changed. Are you accusing me? I'm asking whether you opened the application. You know I can't get to the office panel. You can use the tablet. I didn't. Maya waited, but Daniel offered nothing else. Did Colleen come back last night? She asked. No. Did Laura? No. I was here alone with you. Scout walked into the room and stopped beside Daniel's wheelchair. He sniffed one of the wheels, then moved toward the hallway. Daniel watched him leave. Maybe you should take him to the veterinarian. He's been acting strange. He's acting like he hears something. Or he's getting old. Maya helped Daniel prepare for breakfast, but she paid closer attention to his movements. His hands remained steady when he shifted his weight. His shoulders tightened before she helped him sit upright. None of it proved anything. After 6 years of therapy, he had developed enough upper body strength to assist with transfers. At 9, Colleen called. Daniel put the phone on speaker while Maya arranged his medication. Maya says the basement sensor was turned off, he told her. There was a brief pause before Colleen answered. The software probably updated. The company says it was manual, Maya said. Colleen sighed. Then maybe I turned it off yesterday and the system recorded the wrong time. Why would you turn it off? I was looking for an old invoice in the basement. Scout kept setting off the alerts while I was carrying boxes. The sensor tracks movement. It doesn't sound an alarm during the day. Then I don't remember. It was probably accidental. Daniel looked at Maya. There. You have an explanation? No, Maya said. I have 2 different explanations. Colleen became quiet. Maya continued. You said the software updated. Now you're saying you might have turned it off. I'm trying to help you stop worrying about nothing. Did you use your account last night? I was at home. That wasn't my question. Colleen's voice cooled. I didn't log into your system last night. Maya wrote the answer in a notebook after the call ended. At 10, Laura arrived for Daniel's therapy session. She placed her bag near the office door and greeted Maya without her usual smile. Colleen said you're having trouble with the house sensors. Someone disabled one of them. Laura removed her jacket. Could Daniel have pressed something by accident? The control panel is in the office. Laura looked toward the room. Maybe the tablet connected to it. Daniel said he didn't use the application. I wouldn't know anything about that. Maya held Laura's gaze. Were you here last night? No. You're sure? Laura gave a short laugh. I know where I was. Where? At home. Daniel called from the therapy room. Laura, are we starting today or not? Laura picked up her bag. You should get some rest, Maya. You seem exhausted. It was the second time someone had used her exhaustion to dismiss what she had found. The therapy session lasted more than an hour. Maya remained in the kitchen, reviewing the detailed movement report from the previous week. She compared each irregular entry with her calendar. 2 events had occurred while Laura was scheduled to be at the house. 3 happened when Colleen had visited. The remaining entries occurred when Daniel had been alone. Maya marked each one without making conclusions. When the session ended, Laura left through the side door. Scout followed her to the kitchen, then turned away and went toward the basement. A few minutes later, he returned carrying a gray towel in his mouth. Scout, drop it. He placed the towel at Maya's feet. It was not one of theirs. Their towels were white or blue. This one had the Meridian Rehabilitation Center logo embroidered in one corner. Maya picked it up. It smelled faintly of the same perfume Laura wore. She carried it to Daniel. Did Laura leave this today? Daniel looked at it. Probably. Scout brought it from the basement. She must have left it during another session. She said she didn't go down there. Daniel reached for his tablet. Then ask her. Maya called Laura before she could leave the neighborhood. I found one of your therapy towels in the basement, Maya said. Oh, I've been looking for that. When were you in the basement? I wasn't. Daniel may have asked Colleen to store some equipment. Daniel says you left it during a session. Laura paused. Then that must be what happened. You told me you didn't go downstairs. I said I wasn't there last night. That isn't what I asked. Laura did not answer immediately. Maya, I work in several homes every week. I don't remember where every towel goes. The call ended without a clear explanation. That evening, Maya received the administrator report from the monitoring company. The basement sensor had been disabled through the wall panel in the home office, not through a remote account. Someone inside the house had entered the office at 1:43 in the morning. At 12:08, Maya locked the bedroom door and placed her phone on the nightstand. Scout lay beside the bed, but remained alert. At 2:11, the application sent another warning. Adult movement detected. Maya opened the map. The person had moved from the home office through the kitchen, then stopped outside her bedroom. The movement remained there for 4 minutes. Maya did not open the door. She sat in silence and watched the map until the trail moved toward the basement. In the morning, the hallway camera archive was missing again. Maya checked the drawer where she kept her license, tax records, social security card, and old employment documents. The drawer was closed, but the folders inside were out of order. A copy of her driver's license had been placed on top of documents she always kept beneath it. The folder containing her old city employment forms was open. Maya searched the desk, then checked the wastebasket. It was empty. She went to the small paper shredder near the office and removed the container. Among the narrow strips of paper, one sheet had failed to pass through completely. Maya pulled it free. Her name had been typed above a blank signature line. Across the page, someone had practiced copying her signature 3 times. The next night passed without another movement alert, but Maya did not sleep well. She checked the application several times and found no unusual activity. At 6:30 in the morning, she opened the system log instead of the movement map. The basement sensor had been disabled at 1:43. It had remained off for 37 minutes before being turned on again. Maya checked the other sensors. The living room, kitchen, and hallway had continued operating. Only the basement had been disabled. She took a screenshot and opened the technical support chat. A representative named Melissa responded after Maya provided the account information. Could the basement sensor turn itself off during an update? Maya asked. No. A software update would affect the entire system. What about a weak connection? That would appear as a signal interruption. Your log shows a manual shutdown. Can you tell where it was disabled? It came from an authorized control point, either the wall panel in the home office or an administrator account. Maya looked toward the hallway. The home office had once been Daniel's workspace. Since the accident, Colleen used it whenever she reviewed trust documents, and Laura sometimes left her bag there during therapy. Can you tell which account was used? The detailed administrator record requires a formal request from the account owner. I'm the account owner. Then I can send the request form to your email. Maya thanked her and ended the chat. Daniel was awake when she entered his room. He was holding his tablet and reading a real estate article. The basement sensor was turned off last night, Maya said. He did not look up. Maybe the system reset itself. The company said it was done manually. Daniel lowered the tablet. Are we going to do this every morning now? I'm trying to understand what happened. You already called them yesterday, and someone deleted the camera footage. You said it wasn't your account. That doesn't mean anyone here did it. There are only 3 administrator accounts. Daniel's expression changed. Are you accusing me? I'm asking whether you opened the application. You know I can't get to the office panel. You can use the tablet. I didn't. Maya waited, but Daniel offered nothing else. Did Colleen come back last night? She asked. No. Did Laura? No. I was here alone with you. Scout walked into the room and stopped beside Daniel's wheelchair. He sniffed one of the wheels, then moved toward the hallway. Daniel watched him leave. Maybe you should take him to the veterinarian. He's been acting strange. He's acting like he hears something. Or he's getting old. Maya helped Daniel prepare for breakfast, but she paid closer attention to his movements. His hands remained steady when he shifted his weight. His shoulders tightened before she helped him sit upright. None of it proved anything. After 6 years of therapy, he had developed enough upper body strength to assist with transfers. At 9, Colleen called. Daniel put the phone on speaker while Maya arranged his medication. Maya says the basement sensor was turned off, he told her. There was a brief pause before Colleen answered. The software probably updated. The company says it was manual, Maya said. Colleen sighed. Then maybe I turned it off yesterday and the system recorded the wrong time. Why would you turn it off? I was looking for an old invoice in the basement. Scout kept setting off the alerts while I was carrying boxes. The sensor tracks movement. It doesn't sound an alarm during the day. Then I don't remember. It was probably accidental. Daniel looked at Maya. There. You have an explanation. No, Maya said. I have 2 different explanations. Colleen became quiet. Maya continued. You said the software updated. Now you're saying you might have turned it off. I'm trying to help you stop worrying about nothing. Did you use your account last night? I was at home. That wasn't my question. Colleen's voice cooled. I didn't log into your system last night. Maya wrote the answer in a notebook after the call ended. At 10, Laura arrived for Daniel's therapy session. She placed her bag near the office door and greeted Maya without her usual smile. Colleen said you're having trouble with the house sensors. Someone disabled one of them. Laura removed her jacket. Could Daniel have pressed something by accident? The control panel is in the office. Laura looked toward the room. Maybe the tablet connected to it. Daniel said he didn't use the application. I wouldn't know anything about that. Maya held Laura's gaze. Were you here last night? No. You're sure? Laura gave a short laugh. I know where I was. Where? At home. Daniel called from the therapy room. Laura, are we starting today or not? Laura picked up her bag. You should get some rest, Maya. You seem exhausted. It was the second time someone had used her exhaustion to dismiss what she had found. The therapy session lasted more than an hour. Maya remained in the kitchen, reviewing the detailed movement report from the previous week. She compared each irregular entry with her calendar. 2 events had occurred while Laura was scheduled to be at the house. 3 happened when Colleen had visited. The remaining entries occurred when Daniel had been alone. Maya marked each one without making conclusions. When the session ended, Laura left through the side door. Scout followed her to the kitchen, then turned away and went toward the basement. A few minutes later, he returned carrying a gray towel in his mouth. Scout, drop it. He placed the towel at Maya's feet. It was not one of theirs. Their towels were white or blue. This one had the Meridian Rehabilitation Center logo embroidered in one corner. Maya picked it up. It smelled faintly of the same perfume Laura wore. She carried it to Daniel. Did Laura leave this today? Daniel looked at it. Probably. Scout brought it from the basement. She must have left it during another session. She said she didn't go down there. Daniel reached for his tablet. Then ask her. Maya called Laura before she could leave the neighborhood. I found one of your therapy towels in the basement, Maya said. Oh, I've been looking for that. When were you in the basement? I wasn't. Daniel may have asked Colleen to store some equipment. Daniel says you left it during a session. Laura paused. Then that must be what happened. You told me you didn't go downstairs. I said I wasn't there last night. That isn't what I asked. Laura did not answer immediately. Maya, I work in several homes every week. I don't remember where every towel goes. The call ended without a clear explanation. That evening, Maya received the administrator report from the monitoring company. The basement sensor had been disabled through the wall panel in the home office, not through a remote account. Someone inside the house had entered the office at 1:43 in the morning. At 12:08, Maya locked the bedroom door and placed her phone on the nightstand. Scout lay beside the bed, but remained alert. At 2:11, the application sent another warning. Adult movement detected. Maya opened the map. The person had moved from the home office through the kitchen, then stopped outside her bedroom. The movement remained there for 4 minutes. Maya did not open the door. She sat in silence and watched the map until the trail moved toward the basement. In the morning, the hallway camera archive was missing again. Maya checked the drawer where she kept her license, tax records, social security card, and old employment documents. The drawer was closed, but the folders inside were out of order. A copy of her driver's license had been placed on top of documents she always kept beneath it. The folder containing her old city employment forms was open. Maya searched the desk, then checked the wastebasket. It was empty. She went to the small paper shredder near the office and removed the container. Among the narrow strips of paper, one sheet had failed to pass through completely. Maya pulled it free. Her name had been typed above a blank signature line. Across the page, someone had practiced copying her signature 3 times. Maya folded the damaged sheet and placed it inside a clean envelope before anyone else woke. She photographed both sides, saved the images to her private email account, and put the original beneath the spare tire of her Honda CR-V. She did not know whether the signature practice was connected to the movement alerts, but she knew it did not belong where Daniel or Colleen could find it. By 8, Daniel was asking for breakfast and acting as though the night had been ordinary. Maya prepared oatmeal, arranged his medication, and confirmed Laura's next appointment. She answered every question without mentioning the drawer, the shredded page, or the person who had stopped outside her bedroom. At 11, Maya drove to Riverbend Diner. Eleanor Price was already seated in a booth with a thick white coffee mug between her hands. The lettering had faded, but Maya could still read it. Numbers don't take sides. Eleanor stood when Maya approached and held her hand for a moment. It's good to see you. You too. You look tired. I am. Eleanor waited until Maya had ordered coffee and an egg sandwich before saying, Tell me what made you call. Maya began with the first alert. She described the 4,863 steps, the deleted camera footage, the disabled basement sensor, Laura's towel, and the movement outside her bedroom. She showed Eleanor the screenshots. Eleanor read each image without interrupting. There's more, Maya said. She showed her the photograph of the paper from the shredder. Eleanor enlarged the image. Where is the original? Locked in my car. Good. You think it matters? I think someone practiced your signature and tried to destroy the page. Maya wrapped both hands around her coffee. Daniel can't walk. Colleen says she wasn't there. Laura says she wasn't there. Maybe I'm putting unrelated things together because I haven't slept. Maybe, Eleanor said. But exhaustion does not create system logs. I don't want to turn my marriage into an investigation. Then don't start with your marriage. Start with the facts. Eleanor took a paper napkin and wrote 4 lines. Date, time, event, source. Record only what you can support, she said. Do not accuse anyone. Do not access records you have no right to see. Change your passwords, protect your identification documents, and keep copies outside the house. You make it sound like I need a lawyer. You may. No. Maya answered too quickly. I'm not doing that. Why not? Because if this is a technical problem or some misunderstanding, I'll have treated my husband like a criminal. And if it is not a misunderstanding? Maya had no answer. Eleanor folded the napkin and slid it across the table. You do not have to decide what Daniel has done today. You only have to decide whether you deserve the truth. Maya put the napkin in her purse, but refused Eleanor's offer to call an attorney. By the time she returned home, she had almost convinced herself the meeting had been unnecessary. Rosa Alvarez arrived shortly after 2 for her scheduled shift. She had helped the family twice a week for nearly 4 years, giving Maya time to shop, attend appointments, or sit alone without anyone asking for something. While Daniel watched television, Rosa joined Maya in the kitchen. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Of course. Have you noticed any changes in Daniel's movement? Rosa glanced toward the living room. What kind of changes? His balance, his legs, anything he can do now that he couldn't do before. Rosa took time before answering. His upper body is stronger. That's from therapy. Yes. But sometimes when I help him shift, his weight does not fall the way I expect. He catches himself. With his arms? Not always, Rosa continued. Last month, his foot slipped from the rest. Before I could reach it, He moved it back. Could it have been a spasm? It could have been, but you don't think it was. I think there is a difference between movement that happens to a person and movement a person controls. How long have you noticed? A while. Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't sure. And I did not want to interfere in your home. Maya looked toward Daniel. He was changing channels with the remote resting in his lap. Rosa touched Maya's wrist lightly. I may be wrong. Maya nodded because she wanted Rosa to be wrong. That evening, she called Eleanor and said the same thing. Rosa may have misunderstood what she saw. She may have, Eleanor replied, and the signatures could be connected to old insurance forms. Colleen handles paperwork all the time. That is possible. Maya became frustrated. You're agreeing with me. I'm showing you that possibilities are not conclusions. That works both ways. 2 days later, Maya returned to River Bend Diner. Eleanor was in the same booth with the same old mug. This time, Maya did not order food. I checked the drawer again, Maya said. A copy of my Social Security card is missing. Have you frozen your credit? No. Do it today. I still don't want a lawyer. Then speak to one without hiring one. If Daniel finds out, he'll say I betrayed him. Eleanor placed the mug between them. Loyalty is not permission to lie to you. Maya looked at the faded words. I gave him 6 years, she said. You gave him care because you loved him. That does not require you to surrender your judgment. What if I find out I was wrong? Then you will have protected your records and asked responsible questions. And if I'm right, then you will be glad you started before they finished whatever they are building around your name. Maya left the diner with the napkin, a referral to Jonathan Pierce, and instructions to say only that she needed a consultation about a managed settlement trust. At home, Daniel was asleep. Maya went to the cabinet beside the medical supplies and removed her old city identification badge. The blue cord was faded, but her name and photograph were clear. She carried it to the kitchen table, opened her laptop, and created an encrypted folder. Inside it, she made a document with 4 columns: date, time, event, source. At the top, she typed 2 words: Day 1. Maya began the next morning before Daniel woke. She sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, the old city badge beside the keyboard, and entered every fact she could verify. The first alert had arrived at 2:17 in the morning. The system had recorded 4,863 steps. The camera archive had been deleted at 2:09. On another night, the basement sensor had been disabled at 1:43. Laura's towel had been found near the basement. Maya's personal files had been disturbed, and a page containing 3 attempts to copy her signature had been pulled from the shredder. She did not record what she believed any of it meant. In the final column, labeled Source, she listed screenshots, system reports, photographs, call records, and the location of the original paper. At 6:15, she copied the folder to encrypted storage. A second copy went onto a flash drive in the locked compartment of her car. The third went to a new email address no one in the house knew existed. Daniel called from his room at 6:40. Maya? She closed the laptop and went to him. My left side feels low. She checked his pillow. It looks even. It doesn't feel even. Maya adjusted it, then helped him sit up and transfer into the wheelchair. She noticed how firmly his hand pressed against the mattress and how steady his torso remained. Rosa's observation returned to her, but Maya did not add it to the file. She had seen strength, not proof. At breakfast, Daniel watched her reopen the laptop. What are you working on? An online course. For what? Compliance updates. You're going back to auditing? I'm refreshing my certification. After 6 years? That's why I need the course. Daniel stirred his oatmeal. A lot has changed since you left. Software, regulations, reporting standards. It may not be as simple as taking a class. I know. I'm only saying you shouldn't spend money on something that won't lead anywhere. The first module is free. Then I suppose there's no harm in looking. Maya signed in after breakfast. The opening lesson covered digital records, audit trails, and document preservation. Some procedures had changed, but the language was familiar. She completed the first assessment and scored higher than she expected. For the first time in years, she worked through a problem that did not involve medication insurance approval, or Daniel's schedule. At 10, Colleen emailed the monthly trust summary. It contained broad categories: medical supplies, therapy services, household accessibility, transportation, caregiver support, and administrative expenses. Maya replied, "Please send the complete transaction export for the past 12 months, including dates, payees, account references, and supporting invoices." Colleen called instead. "Why do you need 12 months? I want to understand the activity. The summary tells you what the money was used for. It tells me the categories. I'm trying to save you from wasting time. It's my name on the trust. And mine. Daniel asked me to manage the administrative side because you were overwhelmed. I'm not asking you to stop. I'm asking for the records." Colleen paused. "I'll see what I can export. Tomorrow morning is fine. I have a business to run, Maya." The call ended. Maya added the exchange to her file, then searched her old emails for the trust agreement. She found a scanned copy from 6 years earlier. The agreement named Maya and Colleen as co-trustees. Both had the right to review statements, invoices, disbursement records, and account activity. Colleen could approve routine care expenses, but had to maintain complete supporting records. At noon, Maya drove to the pharmacy drive-thru for Daniel's refill. While waiting, she opened the trust portal on her phone. She had rarely used it because Colleen sent summaries, and Daniel always said the details were handled. The password no longer worked. Maya reset it through her email and signed in. The dashboard displayed the balance, recent withdrawals, and 7 years of statements. She downloaded the latest one. Most entries were familiar: Meridian Rehabilitation Center, the medical equipment supplier, the pharmacy, transportation services, and accessibility maintenance. Then she found a payment labeled Caregiver Reimbursement. The recipient was Maya Williams. The amount was just under $2,000. It had been deposited into the joint checking account she shared with Daniel. Maya searched the previous month. Another caregiver reimbursement appeared under her name. She continued backward. The amount changed slightly, but the payment appeared every month for more than a year. Maya had never submitted a reimbursement request. She had never received separate payment for caring for Daniel, and Colleen had never mentioned the payments. She downloaded the transaction history and opened the household banking application. Each reimbursement entered the joint account on a weekday morning. Before the end of the same day, nearly the same amount left through an electronic transfer to an account identified only by its final 4 digits. Some transfers had been grouped with mortgage payments or equipment purchases, making them easy to overlook. Daniel called while she was still parked outside the pharmacy. "Where are you?" "Picking up your medication. You've been gone almost an hour." The pharmacy was backed up. "Did you get the anti-inflammatory?" "Yes." "And the trust report?" Colleen sent the summary. "Then stop worrying about it." Maya looked at the statement. "Did you know the trust was paying caregiver reimbursements in my name?" Daniel did not answer immediately. "What are you talking about?" "Monthly payments. They go into our checking account. Colleen handles that. I asked whether you knew. I probably saw them. The money goes toward the house. Where does it go after it enters our account?" "How would I know? You manage the checking." For 6 years, Maya had paid routine bills, but Daniel still reviewed large transfers, and Colleen often told her which expenses were covered by the trust. "I'll be home soon," Maya said. She ended the call, captured the transaction sequence, and uploaded it to the encrypted folder. Before leaving, she opened the request form attached to the earliest payment. At the bottom was a signature approving the reimbursement. Maya Williams. The document had been created at 2:11 in the morning on the same night the system recorded 4,863 steps. Maya returned home with Daniel's prescriptions, placed them in the kitchen cabinet, and said nothing about the reimbursement form. Daniel asked whether the pharmacy had filled everything correctly. She answered yes, prepared his lunch, and waited until Rosa arrived for her afternoon shift. "I need to handle some paperwork downtown," Maya told Daniel. "What paperwork?" "The trust records." Daniel stopped scrolling on his tablet. "I thought Colleen was sending those." "She sent the summary. I need help understanding the rest." "From who?" "Someone," Eleanor recommended. Daniel's expression tightened. "A lawyer?" "A consultation. That seems excessive. I found payments carrying my name and a signature I don't recognize as mine. Daniel looked toward Rosa, who was arranging clean towels near the medical bed. Can we discuss this privately? There isn't anything private about a transaction made in my name. You're making it sound criminal. I haven't called it anything yet. Daniel lowered his voice. Colleen has managed that trust for years. If there's an error, ask her to correct it. Bringing in a stranger will create problems we don't need. Maya picked up her purse. Then, accurate records should solve those problems. Jonathan Pierce's office occupied the third floor of a brick building near downtown Richmond. Eleanor was waiting in the reception area when Maya arrived. She stood, introduced Maya to the receptionist, and remained beside her until Jonathan opened the conference room door. He was 48, with reading glasses and a calm voice that did not suggest conclusions before he had evidence. Maya, Eleanor told me only that you have questions about a managed settlement trust, he said. Start wherever the documents start. Maya placed copies of the trust agreement, transaction statements, reimbursement requests, and system logs on the table. She explained how she had obtained each one. Jonathan asked whether she had legal access to the trust portal and joint checking account. Yes. I'm named as a co-trustee, and the checking account is shared with Daniel. Good. We stay inside what you have the right to access. He examined the first reimbursement form, then the next 4. Each carried Maya's signature. Jonathan placed the pages side by side. Did you sign any of these? No. Did you authorize someone to sign for you? No. He pointed to the signatures. They are identical. They're supposed to be. It's my name. A person does not produce the exact same signature every time. Pressure changes. Spacing changes. One letter rises or drops. These appear to be copies of the same image. Eleanor moved closer to the table. From the old treatment form? That would be my first question. Maya showed him the photograph of the page found in the shredder and explained that a copy of her social security card was missing. Jonathan read the dates on the requests. 3 were created after midnight. 1 was created at 2:11 on the night the system recorded someone walking through the house. Who has access to the computer there? Daniel, Colleen, Laura, and me. Who has access to your identification? It was kept in a drawer in the home office. He studied the account activity next. The caregiver reimbursements entered Maya and Daniel's joint account, then left on the same day. Do you control the receiving account? He asked. I don't know whose account it is. Did you approve the outgoing transfers? No. Does Daniel have online access to the joint account? Yes. Colleen? She shouldn't. But she has handled household payments from the trust. Daniel may have given her information. Jonathan made a note. The money passing through your account matters. If someone reviews only the deposits, it looks as though you received the funds. If they also see requests bearing your signature, the record appears complete. Maya looked at the forms. So I'm the person the documents point to. At the moment, yes, Eleanor asked. Can the bank identify the destination account? With the proper request. We should not contact that institution casually because whoever controls the account may be warned. Jonathan opened one of the electronic forms on his laptop. The visible page showed Maya's name, address, and signature. The file information listed a creation date but did not identify the author. Some records may contain metadata, he said. The software used, the device name, sometimes an account identifier. We need the original electronic files, not only printed copies. Colleen has them. Then ask for them as part of your rights as co-trustee. Keep the request ordinary. Do not tell her what you suspect. Maya explained that she had already requested a full transaction export. Jonathan nodded. When she sends it, preserve the email exactly as received. What should I do about Daniel? For now, continue your normal routine. Do not accuse him. Do not search private devices or access medical records without authorization. Change every password connected to your credit, banking, email, and tax accounts. Freeze your credit. Move original identification documents outside the house. I already moved the signature page. Move the rest today. Maya hesitated. Do you believe Daniel is involved? I believe someone used your identity, moved money through your account, and created documents designed to make those movements appear authorized. I do not decide who did it before the evidence does. Before Maya left, Jonathan gave her a secure upload link and asked her to send the files she had already preserved. He did not accept the original damaged page. Keep it sealed, he said. Write down where and when you found it. Avoid handling it more than necessary. That evening, Colleen arrived with a folder and placed it on the kitchen table. I brought something that will make all this easier, she said. Maya opened the folder. The document gave Colleen expanded authority to approve payments, manage disputes, and communicate with the bank without Maya's separate approval. This removes you from the daily administrative burden, Colleen explained. You can focus on Daniel. Why does it say sole discretion, standard legal language, and why does it limit my right to request a separate audit? It doesn't limit anything important. Maya turned another page. I'm going to have someone review it. Colleen's smile remained, but her voice changed. Who? A lawyer. Daniel looked up from the living room. Maya, this is exactly what I warned you about. Colleen pulled out a chair. There is no need to bring lawyers into a family trust. Then there shouldn't be a problem with one reading it. You are creating suspicion where none exists. I found payments made in my name. They were reimbursements for expenses you already paid. I never submitted the requests. Colleen closed the folder. You handled hundreds of forms after Daniel's accident. You may not remember every one. These were created this year. For a moment, Colleen said nothing. Then she pushed the folder toward Maya. Take a day. Read it when you're less tired. Maya left the document on the table after Colleen departed. She photographed every page, uploaded the images to Jonathan's secure link, and added the conversation to her timeline. His reply arrived 20 minutes later. Do not sign anything. A second message followed. Someone did not just take money, Maya. Someone built a trail leading to you. Maya left Colleen's unsigned documents on the kitchen table. Daniel asked about them twice before dinner, and both times Maya said Jonathan was reviewing the language. You gave our family paperwork to a stranger? Daniel asked. He's an attorney. That doesn't make him family. Neither does putting my name on payments I never requested. Daniel set down his fork. You're letting Eleanor fill your head with suspicion. Eleanor didn't create those forms. You don't even know they're false. I know I didn't sign them. Daniel pushed his plate away. 6 years ago, you signed stacks of documents without reading every page. We both did. The payments started last year. He had no answer ready. Maya collected the dishes before he could change the subject. The following afternoon, Scout rolled his rubber ball beneath the living room sofa. He lowered himself to the floor, reached one paw into the gap, and began scratching at the rug. I'll get it, Maya said. Daniel was watching television from his wheelchair. Leave him alone. He'll lose interest. Scout continued digging. Maya knelt and reached under the sofa. Her fingers touched the ball, then struck something hard behind it. She pulled out a slim black phone in a dark case. It was not hers. Daniel's regular phone had a brown leather cover, and Colleen carried a larger model with a red case. Laura usually kept hers in the side pocket of her therapy bag. Daniel's attention remained on the television. What did he lose? He asked. His ball. Maya slid the black phone into the pocket of her sweater before standing. She handed Scout the ball and walked toward the kitchen. The phone required a 4-digit passcode. Maya did not try to open it immediately. She placed it inside an empty flour container in the pantry and waited. Daniel spent the evening asking for small things. He wanted his blanket adjusted, his tablet charged, the thermostat raised, and the television remote moved closer. Maya did each necessary task while watching the clock. At 10:30, she helped him into bed. Are you coming in? He asked. I have coursework to finish. You've been spending a lot of time on that laptop. It's part of the program. Daniel studied her. You know I support you doing something for yourself. Maya waited. But this isn't a good time, he continued. The trust issue is already making everything tense. My course has nothing to do with the trust. Everything affects this house. Maya lowered the bed rail. Good night, Daniel. She waited until the light beneath his door disappeared, then carried the black phone to the kitchen table. The passcode prompt appeared again. Maya tried Daniel's birthday. It failed. She tried the month and year of their wedding anniversary. The phone opened. For several seconds, she did nothing. She knew Jonathan had warned her not to search private devices. She also knew the phone had been hidden inside furniture in a shared room of her home and might contain evidence connected to the use of her identity. She photographed the lock screen and called Jonathan from the back porch. "I found a second phone under the sofa," she said quietly. "Do you know who owns it?" "No." It opened with Daniel's anniversary code. "Do not delete, change, or forward anything from the device. Photograph only what appears relevant to your identity, the trust, or the system interference. Do not search unrelated personal material. What if there's something about Laura? If it connects to the scheme, preserve it. If it is only personal, stop." Maya returned inside. The message application was already open to a conversation saved under the initials LB. The latest message had arrived that afternoon. "Colleen says she can still make Maya sign. Keep acting normal." Maya photographed the screen. She scrolled upward. The initials belonged to Laura Bennett. The messages went back more than 2 years. Some concerned Daniel's appointments, but the language soon changed. Laura called him darling. Daniel told her when Maya would be at the pharmacy, the grocery store, or a medical supply appointment. They planned lunches in the house and evenings when Colleen would cover for them. One message from Daniel read, "Maya will be gone for 2 hours. Use the side door." Laura replied, "I can stay after we finish your night practice." Maya continued. There were references to the monitoring system. "Delete the hallway archive before she checks. The basement sensor is easier. Turn it off from the office. Do not leave the towel downstairs again." Maya photographed each message with the date and time visible. Farther back, Colleen's name appeared. "C says, the caregiver forms are clean. The money passes through the joint account, so it leads to Maya. Once she signs the new authority, no one can force a separate audit without going through Colleen." Laura had replied. "What if Maya refuses?" Daniel answered. "She won't. She still thinks caring for me is the only thing that makes her useful." Maya stopped reading. She had expected fear, greed, or excuses. She had not expected to see 6 years of her life reduced to a weakness they believed they could manage. The phone contained several voice messages. Most concerned schedules, but one had been saved 3 weeks earlier. Maya connected her headphones before playing it. Daniel's voice came through clearly. "Maya is a fool. She gave up 6 years because I asked her to, and she'll sign whatever Colleen puts in front of her. Just keep the reports consistent until this is done." Laura laughed in the background. Maya removed the headphones. She did not cry. She replayed the message once to confirm the wording, then recorded it using her own phone while keeping the original screen and timestamp visible. She uploaded the evidence through Jonathan's secure link and wrote a factual summary in her timeline. At 1:12 in the morning, she placed the black phone beneath the sofa in the same position where she had found it. Then she went to the room that had once been their dining room. Daniel's medical bed stood where their table had been. The cabinet held his supplies, and the wall displayed nothing from Maya's former career. For 6 years, she had believed the room proved how deeply she loved him. Now she understood that Daniel had viewed every sacrifice as evidence that she could be controlled. Maya returned to the kitchen and opened the encrypted file. Beneath the final entry, she wrote one sentence she did not label as evidence. "I was never his wife in this house. I was the system he learned to use." The letter from Commonwealth Heritage Bank arrived 2 mornings later. Maya found it in her email while Daniel was eating breakfast. The subject line read, "Notice of Compliance Review." She opened it, expecting a routine response to her request for trust records. The first paragraph changed that expectation. The bank had identified irregular caregiver reimbursements, incomplete supporting invoices, and conflicting authorization documents. Until the review was complete, several trust transactions would require additional approval. Maya read farther. The person named as the suspected recipient was Maya Williams. She downloaded the attached documents. There were reimbursement requests bearing her signature, emails that appeared to come from an address using her name, and invoices claiming she had paid for private caregiving services. Maya had never hired a private caregiver. Rosa's limited hours were paid directly through an approved agency. One invoice claimed Maya had paid $3,000 for overnight assistance during a week when she had been home every night. Another stated she had purchased specialized lifting equipment. The item listed on the invoice did not exist anywhere in the house. Daniel noticed she had stopped drinking her coffee. What happened? The bank opened a compliance review. He put down his spoon. Because you contacted a lawyer? Because someone submitted false reimbursement requests in my name. Daniel frowned. That doesn't make sense. It makes sense if someone wanted the bank to believe I took the money. Who would do that? Maya looked at him. That's what I intend to find out. Daniel wiped his mouth with a napkin. Call Colleen before this gets worse. She already knows. How? Several of the documents were submitted by her. His expression shifted for only a moment. She manages the trust. Of course she submitted them. She submitted them as evidence that I authorized the payments. Maybe she believes you did. She has known me for 6 years. She knows I never filed for caregiver reimbursement. Daniel reached for his coffee. You signed a lot of paperwork after the accident. These requests were created recently. You keep saying that, but you don't remember every form you signed. I remember whether I paid an overnight caregiver. Daniel's voice became softer. Maya, I'm trying to help you. Then tell me where the money went. I don't know. You have access to the joint account. So do you. You reviewed large transfers before the accident, and Colleen has handled payments since then. I was recovering. For 6 years? Daniel pushed his bowl away. You've already decided I'm involved. I haven't decided anything. I'm asking questions. You're asking them like an auditor, not a wife. Maya closed the laptop. Someone used my identity. Which role would you prefer I use? Before Daniel answered, Colleen came through the side door carrying a folder. She had not called first. I received the bank notice, she said. Maya looked at the folder. You received it before I did? I'm a co-trustee. You also gave them documents naming me as the recipient. I gave them what was in the files. Files you manage. Colleen sat at the table. This is why I wanted you to sign the updated authority. The current structure is too complicated. The structure is not the problem. The problem is that money passed through your account. Then show me the destination account. I don't control your household banking. Daniel turned toward Maya. She has a point. Maya opened the bank statements on her screen. The transfers were initiated through Daniel's login. Daniel's face changed. How do you know that? The bank application records which user authorizes a payment. Colleen answered before he could. Daniel may have approved routine household expenses without remembering everyone. The money went to the same account each month. Then, it was probably a regular provider. Which provider? Colleen opened the folder. We can argue all morning, or we can solve this. Sign the resignation form. I'll take over the trust temporarily, work with the bank, and remove your name from the review. Maya looked at the document. You want me to surrender my authority, while I'm being accused of misusing it. I want to protect you. By taking control of the records? By handling a problem you clearly don't understand. Daniel moved his wheelchair closer to the table. Maya, maybe this is the best option. Let Colleen straighten it out. The moment I sign, I lose access. Temporarily. The document says permanently. Colleen's tone hardened. Jonathan Pierce is turning a bookkeeping issue into a criminal conspiracy. I never told you his full name. No one spoke. Maya had only told Daniel that she was consulting a lawyer. She had not identified Jonathan to Colleen. Colleen recovered first. Daniel mentioned it. Maya turned toward him. Daniel looked down at the folder. I may have seen the name on your phone. My phone is locked. You leave papers around. I never brought Jonathan's card into the house. Colleen closed the folder. This is becoming unreasonable. No, Maya said. It's becoming specific. Colleen stood. The bank will contact you for an interview. I suggest you think carefully before accusing anyone without proof. Did you create the reimbursement forms? No. Did Laura? I don't know. Did Daniel? Colleen picked up her folder. You should ask your husband, instead of treating me like I'm under oath. She left through the side door. Daniel remained at the table. You embarrassed her. She came here to make me sign away my rights. She came here to help. Then why did she know Jonathan's name? Daniel rubbed his forehead. I don't remember where I saw it. Maya opened her laptop again. That answer is becoming common in this house. At noon, Rebecca Sloan from Commonwealth Heritage Bank called. Her voice was professional and direct. Miss Williams, I oversee compliance for the trust division. We need to schedule a formal interview regarding the reimbursement activity. I'll attend with counsel. That is your right. Has the bank identified the destination account? We are reviewing that information. Do you believe I created the requests? I have not reached a conclusion. At present, the documents carry your identifying information and electronic signature. The signatures were copied. If you have evidence supporting that claim, bring it. Rebecca offered no reassurance, but she also made no accusation beyond what the records showed. Maya respected that. They scheduled the interview for the following Tuesday. An hour later, another email arrived. It came from the City of Richmond's audit office. Eleanor had quietly recommended Maya for a temporary consulting position reviewing municipal vendor contracts. Maya had completed the first stage of the application the week before. The email informed her that the process had been placed on hold after the city learned of an active financial compliance review. Maya read the message twice. Daniel called from the living room. I need help with the footrest. She closed the email and went to him. The footrest was slightly turned. Daniel could have corrected it with one hand, but he waited for her. You heard from the city? He asked. How did you know? You've been checking your email all morning. They paused the position. Daniel gave a small nod. Maybe that's for the best. You have enough responsibilities here. Maya adjusted the footrest and looked at him. The bank suspected her. The city had stepped back. Colleen wanted her signature, and Daniel had known the lawyer's name. The documents had not been created only to hide stolen money. They had been designed to make Maya's honesty look like the lie. Her phone rang before she could answer Daniel. The screen displayed Rebecca Sloan's office number. Maya stepped into the kitchen and accepted the call. Miss Williams, Rebecca said, we received an additional statement this morning. It claims you instructed others to maintain your husband's disability status for financial benefit. Maya looked toward Daniel. He was watching her from the living room. Who signed the statement? She asked. Rebecca paused. Daniel Hayes. Maya ended the call with Rebecca and remained in the kitchen with the phone in her hand. Daniel had turned back toward the television, but the screen reflected enough of his face for Maya to see that he was waiting for her reaction. She did not give him one. What did the bank want? He asked. They received your statement. Daniel lowered the volume. I had to tell them what I remembered. You told them. I asked people to hide your recovery. I told them you were involved in the finances. That is not the same thing. I don't know what Colleen submitted under your name. I only know you managed the household accounts. Maya walked into the living room. Did you tell Rebecca that I instructed Laura to keep your condition unchanged on paper? Daniel hesitated. I said you were concerned about losing support. I never discussed that with you. You worried about money all the time. I worried about paying bills while caring for you. You wanted the trust to continue covering the house. It was created to cover your legitimate care. Daniel's voice became quieter. You're upset, and I understand that. But the bank asked me for a statement. I couldn't lie. Maya looked at the wheelchair, the medical bed, and the equipment she had managed for 6 years. You already did, she said. She went upstairs, packed her laptop and documents, then drove to Eleanor's office. Jonathan arrived 20 minutes later with printed copies of the bank records and Daniel's statement. Eleanor had cleared the conference table. Her old coffee mug sat near a stack of legal pads. Jonathan read Daniel's statement aloud. It claimed Maya had become worried when Daniel began showing signs of improvement. According to him, she feared losing caregiver reimbursements and asked him not to discuss his progress with insurance representatives. He describes conversations that never happened, Maya said. He also avoids saying he could walk, Jonathan replied. He uses phrases like improved strength and occasional movement. That gives him room to change his story later. Eleanor compared Daniel's statement with Colleen's earlier letter to the bank. They use the same phrase here. Jonathan looked over. Which one? Maintaining household financial stability. He found the sentence in both documents. The wording was identical. Maya opened Laura's messages from the hidden phone. Daniel used that phrase when he told Laura the reports had to remain consistent. Jonathan copied the relevant screenshots into a separate evidence file. This helps show coordination, but we need to establish that the financial records were manufactured independently of Maya. They reviewed every reimbursement request again. The electronic signatures were identical in size and placement. Even the small break in the final letter appeared in the same position. Jonathan enlarged one of the images. A scanned signature was inserted into these forms. No one signed them individually. He then examined the email addresses attached to the requests. At first glance, they appeared to come from Maya. One address used her full name and the same provider as her personal account, but one letter had been replaced. "It looks correct, unless someone checks carefully," Maya said. "That was the point," Eleanor replied. Jonathan traced the available email headers. The false messages had been sent through a mail application associated with Hayes Home Support, Colleen's company. "That does not prove Colleen personally sent them," he said, "but it places their creation inside her business system." Maya opened her calendar and compared the dates of the reimbursement forms with her records. One invoice claimed she had attended an in-person planning meeting with Colleen on a Thursday afternoon. "I wasn't with her that day. Can you prove where you were?" Jonathan asked. Maya searched her archived email and found the confirmation for an online compliance seminar. Attendance records showed she had remained logged in from 9 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. The course platform had recorded her participation in 3 live sessions. Eleanor pointed to the invoice. "This says the meeting happened at 2. Jonathan added the seminar records to the file. "That gives us an independent timestamp." They continued through the transactions. The caregiver reimbursements entered the joint account, then moved to an account whose final digits matched a business payment account listed on an old invoice from Hayes Home Support. Maya had seen the digits before, without understanding their importance. "The receiving account belongs to Colleen's company," she said. "Most likely," Jonathan replied. "We still need confirmation from the bank." The therapy charges followed a separate path. Payments labeled Advanced Neurological Rehabilitation went to a business connected to Laura. No treatment code or supporting clinical note appeared in the trust records. Maya leaned back in her chair. "They divided the money and passed part of it through your account," Eleanor said. Jonathan organized the documents into 3 sections: identity misuse, false reimbursement records, and coordinated statements. "The bank interview is tomorrow," he said. "Rebecca Sloan will not care who sounds more hurt. She will care which claim can be supported." "What if she already believes Daniel? Then we give her a reason to reconsider. We do not ask her to trust you. We show her where the documents fail." The next morning, Maya and Jonathan met Rebecca at Commonwealth Heritage Bank. Rebecca wore a dark suit and placed a recording device at the center of the table after receiving permission from everyone present. "Miss Williams," she began, "this interview is not a finding of guilt. It is an opportunity to respond to documents submitted under your name." Maya explained that she had never requested caregiver reimbursements, never hired the providers listed on the invoices, and never asked anyone to conceal Daniel's medical progress. Jonathan presented the copied signatures, false email address, seminar attendance record, and the connection between the destination account and Colleen's company. Rebecca reviewed each document without revealing whether it changed her opinion. "Why did you not notice these deposits earlier?" she asked. "The money entered a joint account and left the same day," Maya said. "Colleen supplied monthly summaries by category. I trusted her to maintain the supporting records. You were a co-trustee." "Yes, I should have reviewed them sooner." Jonathan glanced at her, but Maya continued. "My failure to examine the records does not mean I created them." Rebecca made a note. "That distinction will matter." She asked detailed questions about Daniel's care, Maya's access to the accounts, her relationship with Colleen, and when she first became suspicious. Maya answered only what she knew. At the end of the interview, Rebecca closed the folder. "I have not reached a conclusion," she said. "However, the material you provided raises concerns about the authenticity of several submissions. The review will remain open." It was not an apology, but it was the first time the bank had acknowledged that Maya might have been framed. Maya and Jonathan had reached the elevator when Rebecca's assistant called them back. Rebecca was still seated at the conference table. A new document had appeared on her screen. "We received another sworn statement while you were here," she said. "From Colleen?" Maya asked. Rebecca turned the screen toward them. The name at the bottom was Laura Bennett. Her statement claimed Maya had known about Daniel's recovery for years and had personally ordered Laura to keep it out of his official therapy reports. Rebecca printed Laura's statement and placed it beside Daniel's. Jonathan read both pages, while Maya remained seated across the table. Laura claimed Maya had known for nearly 3 years that Daniel was regaining movement in his legs. According to the statement, Maya had become concerned that documented improvement would reduce the trust's financial support. Laura said Maya instructed her to describe Daniel's progress as temporary reflexes rather than functional recovery. Daniel's statement made the same accusation. Both documents used the phrase maintaining household financial stability. Both described Maya as increasingly anxious about losing caregiver reimbursements. Both claimed Daniel had been afraid to challenge her. Jonathan placed the pages next to each other. These statements were coordinated. Rebecca read the matching paragraphs. Similar language may indicate coordination, but it does not automatically make the claims false. "Laura never discussed financial benefits with me," Maya said. "I didn't know those reimbursements existed." Her statement says otherwise. Then ask her when and where these conversations happened. Rebecca turned to the second page. She identifies several meetings at your home. "On therapy days?" "Yes." "Daniel was present?" "According to Miss Bennett, some conversations occurred privately." Maya almost laughed. Laura had rarely been alone with her. Most of their exchanges involved schedules, equipment, or Daniel's medication. The longer conversations happened between Laura and Daniel behind a closed therapy room door. "Can I have a copy?" Jonathan asked. Rebecca nodded. "After the compliance department marks it for release." "What happens now?" Maya asked. "The bank will seek supporting records from Meridian Rehabilitation Center. Until then, access to the trust will be restricted for both co-trustees." "Colleen loses access too?" "She may submit routine care expenses, but no discretionary transfer will be approved without review." Maya looked at Jonathan. The restriction prevented more money from leaving, but it also prevented her from paying approved expenses without the bank examining every request. Rebecca continued, "Ms. Hayes has formally petitioned to remove you as co-trustee." "On what grounds?" "Alleged misuse of caregiver reimbursements, concealment of medical improvement, and failure to disclose a conflict of interest." "What conflict?" "Receiving trust funds while serving as trustee. I never received them. The money passed through an account bearing your name and left through Daniel's login on the same day. That remains under review." Rebecca's tone stayed neutral. Maya understood it was not personal, but the documents were accomplishing exactly what Colleen intended. Every lie had been placed into a form that required Maya to answer it. Jonathan gathered the copies. "We will submit a written response." Rebecca stood. "The bank has not made a final determination, Miss Williams, but until the record is complete, we have to treat each sworn statement seriously." Maya and Jonathan met Eleanor at River Bend Diner that afternoon. Maya had not eaten since breakfast, but the smell of coffee and grilled onions turned her stomach. Eleanor listened as Jonathan described the new statements and the restriction on the trust. "They learned the same story," she said. "That's what we believe," Jonathan replied. "Believe?" Maya asked. Daniel's words are almost identical to Laura's. "Coordination is clear," Jonathan said. "Proving the story is false requires more than matching language." Maya opened the secure folder on her laptop. "We have the messages. We have screenshots from a phone you found in the house. They are valuable, but the other side may challenge how they were obtained or claim they were altered." "What about the voice recording?" "It proves Daniel called you a fool and expected you to sign Colleen's documents. It supports manipulation and intent. It does not yet prove when he recovered or who falsified the clinical reports." Eleanor turned her coffee mug until the faded words faced Maya. "Numbers don't take sides." "What do we still need?" Eleanor asked. "The original therapy records," Jonathan said. "The medical reassessment, the system data from the house, confirmation of who controlled the accounts used to delete the footage. We also need independent evidence that Maya did not request the reimbursements. Maya looked through the diner window. Meanwhile, they get to keep saying, "I did." "For now," Jonathan said. Her phone vibrated. The message came from the City of Richmond audit office. The temporary consulting position had been placed on indefinite hold. The city could not proceed while a financial review involving a public trust remained unresolved. Maya locked the screen. Eleanor watched her. "The job?" They froze it. "I'll call Martin." "No. Maya. He knows your work, and he also knows I'm under review. I don't want anyone making an exception for me." "You are not asking for an exception. I need to clear my name first." Jonathan closed his folder. "That is exactly what they want you to believe." Maya turned toward him. "They want you focused on defending your reputation instead of examining their conduct. Every hour you spend proving you are honest is an hour you are not tracing the money. What choice do I have? We divide the work. I handle the bank response and document requests. Eleanor helps establish your professional timeline. You continue preserving evidence from the house without confronting anyone." Maya looked at the calendar on her laptop. 6 years of Daniel's appointments filled the screen. Laura's sessions appeared 3 times each week, often followed by periods when Colleen visited. The pattern had been in front of her for years. At home that evening, Daniel was waiting in the living room. "Rebecca called," he said. "About what?" She said, "The trust is restricted." "That is correct. How are we supposed to pay for my care? Routine expenses are still covered after review. So every time I need something, a bank employee decides whether it's necessary. You should ask Colleen why the bank no longer trusts the records." Daniel folded his arms. "You caused this by bringing in a lawyer." "No. False documents caused it. You keep saying that as though repeating it makes it true." Laura repeated your statement almost word for word. Daniel's expression remained controlled. "Maybe that's because we both remember what happened." "What happened, Daniel?" "You were afraid." "Of what?" "Of losing the trust's support. Of having to go back to work. Of admitting that you had built your whole life around taking care of me." Maya stared at him. He continued, "You liked being needed. You still do." For a moment, the accusation reached the part of her that had doubted every decision since leaving her job. She had built routines around Daniel. She had measured her value by whether his medicine arrived on time and whether he was comfortable. That did not mean she had wanted him to remain dependent. "I wanted you to recover," she said. "You wanted to control how it happened." "No. I wanted my husband to tell me the truth." "Stock." Daniel looked away first. "I've said everything I'm going to say." Maya went to the kitchen and opened her encrypted timeline. She added Daniel's statement, Laura's accusation, Colleen's petition, the bank restrictions, and the suspended city position. For the first time since beginning the file, her hands stopped above the keyboard. What if the documents were stronger than the truth? What if 6 years away from the office had made her slower? What if Daniel, Colleen, and Laura only needed to remain consistent long enough for everyone else to believe them? Maya called Eleanor. "I don't know if I can keep doing this." Eleanor was quiet before answering. "Justice may not be fair at the beginning. It becomes fair when someone refuses to leave the record unfinished. What if I can't prove who created it? Then return to the first fact no one has explained." Maya opened the home mobility report. 4,863 steps. The deleted camera archive. The disabled basement sensor. The account accessed from inside Daniel's room. To finish the record, Maya had to answer the question that had started everything. Who had been walking through the house while the rest of the world believed Daniel could not stand? Jonathan filed the preservation request with the home monitoring company the next morning. He asked the company to retain every movement record, administrator login, sensor interruption, device identifier, and deletion request connected to the Hayes residence. "The application only shows Maya a simplified report," he explained to Eleanor. "The company's servers may hold information that never appears on the homeowner's screen." Maya sat across from him in his office with her laptop open. "How long will it take?" "They said they can provide the technical logs within 3 business days. The bank is also requesting Daniel's rehabilitation records." Can they do that without his permission? The trust has paid for his treatment for 6 years. The bank has the right to verify whether the services it funded were necessary and accurately described. They will receive billing records and reports relevant to the trust review, not his entire medical history. Maya nodded. She wanted answers, but she did not want to cross a legal line that Daniel could later use against her. Jonathan turned toward her. Until we have those records, do not change your routine. That's becoming difficult. Has Daniel said anything else? He keeps asking what the bank knows. Colleen has called twice to ask whether I plan to resign from the trust. And Laura? She canceled tomorrow's therapy session. She said Daniel needed time to recover from stress. Eleanor sat beside Maya with a legal pad on her lap. Interesting choice of words. Maya looked at her. Why? Laura's sworn statement says Daniel has been improving for years. Now she is canceling treatment because a bank review is causing physical stress. Jonathan wrote down the cancellation. Save the message. That afternoon, Maya returned home and found Daniel in the living room. His tablet rested on his lap, but the screen was dark. Where were you? He asked. With Jonathan. You spend more time with him than you do here. I was gone for 2 hours. I needed help getting something from the office. What did you need? A property file. You could have called Rosa. I shouldn't need to call an outside caregiver because my wife is meeting with a lawyer. Maya placed her purse on the counter. Which property file? Daniel pointed toward the office. The gray folder on the upper shelf. Maya entered the room. The folder was within easy reach of anyone standing, but it was too high for Daniel to reach from his wheelchair. She took it down and handed it to him. He opened it without thanking her. Why do you need an old property file? She asked. I wanted to check something. What? Daniel closed the folder. Not everything I do concerns the trust. Maya did not press him. She recorded the time and the name of the folder after he returned it. 3 days later, Jonathan called while Maya was completing an online compliance lesson. The monitoring company sent the server data, he said. Come to my office. Maya arrived before Eleanor. Jonathan had printed several pages of technical records and arranged them in chronological order. The original alert was accurate, he said. An adult moved through 5 zones for more than 2 hours. Could the sensors have combined movement from more than one person? No. The pressure pattern, stride length, and timing remained consistent. The system recorded one adult. He showed her a chart tracking the movement from the living room to the kitchen, garage, basement, and hallway. The person's pace changed over time, Maya said. Jonathan nodded. The first steps were slow and uneven. Later sessions became faster and more consistent. Sessions? There were many more than the 7 irregular events visible in your application. Most were too small to trigger an alert. The server recorded them anyway. He showed her records covering nearly 2 years. Early entries contained fewer than 100 steps. Later entries grew to several hundred, then more than 1,000. In recent months, the totals often reached 3,000 or 4,000. Maya examined the dates. Laura was scheduled on some of these days. Laura, 1. Laura, she usually left before the nighttime movement began. What about Colleen? Her entry code was not used on those nights. The exterior locks show no one entered after Laura left, so Daniel was alone. In most cases, yes. Maya wanted to say the conclusion aloud, but Jonathan stopped her. This evidence supports a theory. It does not yet identify the walker. Eleanor arrived and studied the charts. What does the movement pattern tell us? The company's analyst said it resembles someone rebuilding strength and balance over time. Short controlled routes at first, followed by longer continuous movement. Someone in rehabilitation, Maya said. Possibly. The analyst will not identify a person without visual evidence or a direct comparison. Jonathan opened another file. There is more. Camera deletion requests were made shortly before the longest walking periods. The requests came from devices connected to the home network. Can they identify the devices? Not by owner, but by device type and internal address. One was the wall control panel in the office. Another was a tablet. A third was an older smartphone that connected only occasionally. The hidden phone, Maya said. Likely, but we cannot confirm that yet. The tablet appeared most often. Daniel kept his tablet beside him throughout the day and on the nightstand while he slept. Before Maya could respond, Jonathan's assistant entered with an email from Commonwealth Heritage Bank. Meridian Rehabilitation Center had released the records connected to trust payments. The documents included an assessment from nearly 3 years earlier. Maya read the summary carefully. Daniel had demonstrated voluntary movement in both legs. He could support part of his body weight, maintain balance while holding parallel bars, and walk short distances with assistance. The evaluating physician recommended progressive therapy aimed at greater independence. "This is not what I was told," Maya said. "What were you told?" Jonathan asked. That his movements were involuntary, and that independent mobility was no longer a realistic goal. Jonathan turned to the report signed by Laura 3 days after the assessment. Laura described Daniel's progress as inconsistent and medically insignificant. She recommended continued full-time assistance, no reduction in home care, and no change to the existing trust-funded treatment plan. "She knew," Maya said. "The assessment suggests she knew he had functional movement," Jonathan replied. "Her recommendation directly conflicts with the physician's findings." Maya called Rosa from Jonathan's office. She asked whether Rosa would be willing to give a formal statement about Daniel's balance, foot movement, and ability to support himself during transfers. Rosa was quiet for a moment. "I should have spoken sooner," she said. "You weren't certain. I was certain something was wrong. I was not certain what it meant. Will you tell the bank what you saw?" "Yes. I will tell them exactly what happened and nothing more." After the call, Jonathan added Rosa's name to the witness list. They now had the movement history, the medical assessment, Laura's conflicting report, and proof that no outsider entered the house during many of the nighttime sessions. Still, Daniel could claim another person had been inside, or that the system had misread someone helping him. The final technical page provided the closest link yet. Every time the hallway camera was deleted through the tablet, the device was connected to the charging station assigned to Daniel's room. Maya read the line twice. They had the location, the device, and the time. What they still lacked was the moment Daniel forgot to remain seated. Colleen called the next afternoon and asked Maya to meet her at a coffee shop 2 blocks from Commonwealth Heritage Bank. "Why not at the house?" Maya asked. "Because Daniel doesn't need to hear every detail. He signed a statement against me. I think he knows the details. This is between the 2 trustees." Maya agreed only after Jonathan advised her to choose a public place. Take notes immediately afterward. Colleen was seated near the back when Maya arrived. A legal-sized envelope rested beside her coffee. She did not offer to order anything for Maya. "I'm going to be direct," Colleen said. "The bank review is hurting everyone. It is hurting me. It is restricting Daniel's care and damaging the trust. False records damaged the trust." Colleen rested both hands on the envelope. "You keep using words like false and forged, but none of that has been proven. The signatures are copies. That is your lawyer's opinion. The documents were created through your company's system. Employees use that system. Which employee created them? I don't know." Maya sat back. "Then why did you ask me here?" Colleen opened the envelope and removed a document. "This is a settlement proposal. You resign as co-trustee, withdraw the request for a separate audit, and agree not to file a professional complaint against Laura. In exchange for what? I withdraw the petition, accusing you of misusing the trust. I also tell the bank I believe the reimbursement records may contain administrative errors." "May contain." "I'm trying to give you a way out without admitting something I cannot prove." Maya read the first page. The proposal also required her to surrender any claim to most of the house and accept a fixed payment from the trust. "You want me to give up the trust, the audit, and the house. You would receive enough money to start over." "Start over from what?" Colleen's voice remained calm. "From a marriage that is clearly over." Maya looked up. "Daniel told you that? He doesn't have to. You've been meeting with lawyers, freezing accounts, and challenging his medical care. I challenged false billing. You challenged everyone who has helped keep him stable. Laura lied about his recovery. Laura says you instructed her to. And Daniel repeated the same story. Because it happened." Maya placed the proposal on the table. No, you haven't read everything. I've read enough. Colleen leaned closer. You need to understand your position. Money entered an account in your name. Requests carry your signature. 2 people have sworn that you knew Daniel was improving. The city has already suspended your job opportunity. 3 people telling the same lie does not make it true. It can make it very difficult to disprove. That sounds like a threat. It is a fact. Maya pushed the document back across the table. Colleen did not take it. There is one more thing. I have an agreement signed by you 2 years ago. It confirms that you approved the reimbursement process and authorized me to manage all related disbursements. I never signed such an agreement. You may not remember. I remember what I sign. You said the same thing about the reimbursement requests. Show it to me. You'll see it at the bank meeting. If it exists, why not show me now? Because I am giving you one final chance to resolve this privately. Maya rose. If you have another document carrying my signature, preserve the original. Jonathan will request it. Colleen's expression hardened. You think returning to auditing makes you powerful again? No. It reminds me that records have dates, authors, and histories. Maya, sit down. I'm done. If this reaches a formal hearing, Daniel will support me. He already chose his side. Maya left the proposal on the table and walked out. She drove directly to Eleanor's guest apartment, a furnished 1-bedroom unit above a detached garage behind Eleanor's house. Eleanor had offered it days earlier, but Maya had resisted because leaving felt like admitting the marriage could not be repaired. Now there was nothing left to repair. I'll come with you to pack, Eleanor said. I don't want Daniel to know. I've decided until I'm gone. Then take only what you need. Maya returned home before dinner. Daniel was in the living room, watching a financial news program. Where were you? He asked. With Colleen. His eyes stayed on the television. Did she show you the proposal? So you knew about it. She said she was trying to help. She asked me to give up the trust and the house. You would receive money. Money? From a trust they are accusing me of stealing from? Daniel lowered the volume. You can't keep fighting everyone. I'm not fighting everyone. It feels that way from here. Maya looked at the medical bed, the wheelchair, and the cabinets she had organized for 6 years. Did I ever ask Laura to conceal your recovery? Daniel's hand remained on the remote. I already gave my statement. That wasn't my question. You cared about keeping the house stable. Did I ask her to lie? Daniel looked away. You said you were afraid of what would happen if the support ended. I said I was afraid we could not pay for equipment. That is not permission to falsify a medical report. You are changing the meaning now. Maya understood that no answer from him would contain the truth unless it served him. She prepared dinner, arranged his evening medication, and waited until he went to bed. Then she packed clothing, her laptop, employment records, tax files, family photographs, and the old city badge. She left furniture, kitchenware, and everything that could be collected later through an attorney. Scout watched from the doorway while she closed the suitcase. At 9:40, Maya carried her bags to the Honda. Daniel called from his room. Maya? She went to the doorway but did not enter. Where are you going? To Eleanor's. For how long? I don't know. You can't leave without arranging someone to help me. Rosa is scheduled tomorrow. Colleen has authority to submit routine care expenses. You also told the bank you have been recovering for years. Daniel stared at her. You're abandoning me. No. I'm removing myself from a house where my name is being used against me. You'll regret walking out. Maya held his gaze. I regret staying long enough for you to believe I never would. She left with Scout and did not return that night. At 2:26 in the morning, her phone received another alert from the home mobility system. Adult movement detected. Total recorded steps, 5,112. Maya opened the access records from Eleanor's guest apartment. Her location history proved she had been away from the house for more than 4 hours. Laura's appointment calendar placed her at an evening rehabilitation seminar. Colleen's company access logs showed her working from her office. Only Daniel was confirmed to be inside the house. The camera archive had been deleted again, but the movement data had already been stored on the company's server. Maya forwarded the alert to Jonathan. He called 10 minutes later. Do not return to the house. I'm sending preservation notices to the monitoring company, the bank, Meridian, and Colleen's business before morning. I packed only one suitcase. Anything else can be recovered later. Maya looked at Scout asleep near the foot of the bed. The apartment was quiet, and no one was waiting for her to bring water, adjust a pillow, or explain why she had asked a question. 9 days later, Daniel, Colleen, and Laura would sit inside a bank conference room expecting Maya to defend herself. They did not yet understand that she was bringing the record they had failed to erase. The conference room at Commonwealth Heritage Bank had one long table, 12 chairs, and a screen mounted on the wall. Rebecca Sloan sat at the head with 2 members of the compliance department. A bank attorney occupied the seat beside her. Maya entered with Jonathan and placed a thin folder and her laptop on the table. Eleanor had helped organize the evidence, but she was not attending because Jonathan wanted every person in the room to have a defined legal role. Colleen arrived carrying a thick file box. Laura followed with a leather portfolio and sat beside her. Daniel came last in his wheelchair, pushed by a transportation aide who left after helping him settle at the table. He did not look at Maya. Rebecca waited until everyone was seated. This meeting concerns disputed transactions within the Hayes Care Settlement Trust, the authenticity of documents submitted under Maya Williams's name, and conflicting statements regarding Daniel Hayes's medical condition. This is an internal compliance proceeding, not a court hearing. Colleen opened her file box. Then I assume we can resolve this without more accusations. Rebecca looked at her. You will have an opportunity to respond. The bank attorney activated the recording system. Each person stated a name and role. When it was Maya's turn, she said, Maya Williams, co-trustee and disputed recipient of the reimbursements. Daniel shifted in his wheelchair. Rebecca began with the financial records. A spreadsheet appeared on the wall, showing caregiver reimbursements entering Maya and Daniel's joint account before leaving through transfers authorized by Daniel's login. Mr. Hayes, Rebecca said, did you authorize these transfers? Daniel looked toward Colleen before answering. I approved household expenses when Maya asked me to. Did she identify the destination account? Not every time. Maya kept her hands near the laptop. Jonathan had instructed her not to interrupt unless Rebecca asked her directly. Rebecca changed the display to show the receiving account. The funds went to a business account controlled by Hayes Home Support, she said. Miss Hayes, that company is yours. Colleen opened a folder. Hayes Home Support advanced money for Daniel's care when the trust payment schedule was delayed. The transfers reimbursed my company. Where are the invoices for those advances? In the records I provided. The invoices name Maya as the original payer. Maya often paid expenses from the joint account. Rebecca looked toward Maya. Did you authorize Hayes Home Support to advance these funds? No. Did you receive the services listed on the invoices? No. Colleen leaned forward. She was exhausted during those years. She does not remember every arrangement. The disputed invoices were created within the past 18 months, Jonathan said. Miss Williams was maintaining detailed household records during that period. The bank attorney asked Colleen who had prepared the reimbursement forms. My administrative staff. Which employee? I would need to review the company schedule. You were asked for that information 6 days ago. My business is undergoing an internal review. Rebecca displayed the email records next. The messages had been sent from an address designed to resemble Maya's, but the technical data connected them to Colleen's business system. Colleen glanced at Laura. Any employee could have accessed that platform. Were any employees authorized to use Maya Williams's name? Rebecca asked. No. Then, regardless of which employee sent them, your company submitted false communications. I did not say they were false. Maya may have created the address herself. Jonathan opened Maya's thin folder. We have records from her email provider, showing every account she created during the relevant period. That address was not one of them. Colleen turned toward Daniel. You saw Maya handle the reimbursement paperwork. Daniel nodded. More than once. What did the forms look like? Rebecca asked. Daniel paused. Standard trust forms. What color were they? I don't remember. Were they electronic or printed? Both. Where did she complete them? At the kitchen table. Rebecca consulted her notes. Your earlier statement said she completed them in the home office. Daniel adjusted the blanket across his legs. She used both rooms. Maya watched him change the answer without changing his tone. Laura was questioned next. She repeated that Maya had known about Daniel's recovery and had asked her to keep the progress out of official reports. Rebecca displayed the physician's assessment from nearly 3 years earlier. This report states that Mr. Hayes could support part of his weight and walk short distances with assistance. Your report, written 3 days later, described his movement as medically insignificant. Progress in a controlled assessment does not always transfer to daily function, Laura said. Why did you omit the physician's findings? I summarized what I considered relevant. Did Maya instruct you to do that? Yes. Where did the conversation occur? In the kitchen. Daniel's statement appeared beside Laura's. He had written that the conversation occurred in the therapy room. Rebecca pointed to the difference. Which location is correct? Laura looked at Daniel. There may have been more than one conversation. How many? I don't remember. Rebecca turned to Daniel. Did you hear Maya instruct Miss Bennett to change the reports? I heard enough to understand what she wanted. That is not my question. Daniel lowered his eyes. I heard part of the conversation. Maya opened her laptop only when Jonathan nodded. She displayed her calendar, pharmacy records, and location history for the date Laura had identified. I was at a pharmacy appointment across Richmond during the time Laura says we spoke in the kitchen, Maya said. The receipt, parking payment, and prescription timestamp placed me there for more than an hour. Laura looked down at her portfolio. Then I may have confused the date. The date appears in your sworn statement, Jonathan said. It was 3 years ago. Rebecca removed her glasses and set them beside the recorder. The bank requested precise facts. If the date was uncertain, the statement should have said so. Colleen opened the largest section of her file box. We can argue about memories, or I can provide the document that settles the financial question. She removed a cream-colored agreement protected by a clear sleeve. This was signed by Maya 2 years ago. It authorizes the caregiver reimbursements, confirms that she managed the funds through the joint account, and grants my company permission to recover advanced expenses. Jonathan held out his hand. The original, please. Colleen kept it near her. You may review a copy. The bank requested originals. I brought the original for visual inspection, not for removal. Rebecca extended her hand. Place it on the table. Colleen hesitated before passing it to her. The agreement carried Maya's name on each page. Her signature appeared at the bottom beside Colleen's. Daniel's signature was included as a witness. Rebecca looked toward Maya. Have you seen this document before? No. Daniel finally faced her. You signed it at home. I did not. You were sitting at the kitchen table. Colleen explained everything. What month? March. What day? Daniel looked at the agreement. The date is written there. I asked whether you remember. It was 2 years ago. Maya turned toward Colleen. Who prepared it? My attorney. Name? I no longer use that firm. Who witnessed my signature? Daniel. Was anyone else present? No. Jonathan placed a clear evidence sleeve on the table. We request that the bank preserve the original for forensic examination. Colleen reached toward the document. I did not agree to surrender it. Rebecca moved it out of reach. You submitted it as evidence in an active compliance review. The bank will preserve it. This is my property. It is now part of the official record. For the first time that morning, Colleen lost control of her expression. Maya opened a file on her laptop. Before we examine the signature, I want the bank to review the document history. Colleen looked toward the screen. Rebecca asked, Do you have metadata from this agreement? We received a digital copy yesterday through the trust portal, Jonathan said. The visible date says it was signed 2 years ago. The file history says something else. Colleen closed her file box. Daniel moved one hand to the wheel of his chair. Rebecca turned toward Maya. Show us. Maya connected her laptop to the wall display and opened the metadata report. The first line identified the account that had created the agreement. The second showed when it had actually been written, 11 days earlier. Colleen looked at the metadata report but did not speak. The file had been created 11 days earlier through an account assigned to Hayes Home Support. It had been edited twice, exported as a PDF, and uploaded to the trust portal the previous evening. Rebecca turned toward Colleen. You stated this agreement was signed 2 years ago. The original was signed 2 years ago, Colleen replied. My office recreated the digital copy because the old scan was damaged. Then the original should contain paper, ink, and printing characteristics consistent with that date. Jonathan said, It does. We'll let an examiner determine that. Colleen reached toward the clear sleeve, but the bank attorney moved it closer to Rebecca. Jonathan placed the agreement inside an evidence bag, sealed it in front of everyone, and wrote the date and time across the label. Daniel watched without moving. Rebecca addressed Maya. Continue. Maya opened the first section of her presentation. The wall screen displayed the caregiver reimbursements, the joint account, and the transfers to Hayes Home Support. These payments were submitted under my name, Maya said. The signatures were not written individually. They were copies of the same scanned image. The emails came from an address created through Colleen's business system, and the money left our joint account through Daniel's login. Daniel shifted in his chair. Maya handled our finances. I approved transfers when she told me to. Then, explain the destination, Rebecca said. I assumed it was for care. Your login, authorized, 12 transfers to your sister's company. I didn't inspect every account number. Maya displayed the invoices Colleen had submitted. Several claimed services had been provided by caregivers who did not exist in the Virginia licensing database. Others listed equipment that had never been delivered to the house. One invoice billed the trust for overnight care during a week when Rosa's agency records showed no worker had been scheduled. Rosa had signed a statement confirming that Maya never asked her to conceal Daniel's progress or create false billing. Colleen opened her file box. Administrative errors do not prove fraud. Maya changed the screen. The false emails, reimbursement forms, and invoices had all been created on devices connected to Colleen's business network. The payments returned to the same company within hours. An error happens once, Maya said. This happened every month. Laura interrupted. None of that connects me to the money. Jonathan opened the next record. Advanced neurological rehabilitation payments went to Bennett Mobility Consulting. Laura's face changed. That company belongs to you, Rebecca said. It provided specialized services outside Meridian's standard program. Where are the treatment notes? I kept private records. The trust paid more than $40,000 to your company. You have not provided a single clinical note supporting those charges. Laura looked toward Daniel. He received the treatment. What treatment? Rebecca asked. Laura did not answer. Maya displayed the physician's assessment from nearly 3 years earlier. It documented voluntary leg movement, supported standing, and assisted walking. Beside it appeared Laura's report describing Daniel's progress as medically insignificant. You told the bank I ordered you to hide his recovery, Maya said. Your statement identified a date and time when I was across Richmond. Daniel's statement placed the same conversation in a different room. Both statements used identical language. We remembered the same events, Daniel said. You memorized the same version. Jonathan played the recording from the hidden phone. Daniel's voice filled the conference room. Maya is a fool. She gave up 6 years because I asked her to, and she'll sign whatever Colleen puts in front of her. Just keep the reports consistent until this is done. No one spoke when the recording ended. Daniel's hand tightened around the armrest. That was taken from a private phone. It was found under the sofa in our home, Maya said. The same phone contained messages telling Laura when to enter through the side door, when to disable the basement sensor, and when to delete the camera archive. Laura turned toward Daniel. You told me those messages were gone. Colleen faced her. Stop talking. Rebecca raised one hand. No one will interrupt again. Maya opened the home monitoring records. The screen showed 2 years of movement data, beginning with short, uneven routes and increasing into thousands of continuous steps. The longest sessions occurred after Laura left and while no one else entered the house. The system could be wrong, Daniel said. The monitoring company confirmed one adult, Jonathan replied. The movement pattern showed progressive recovery. The deleted footage requests came from the tablet connected to the charging station in Daniel's room. That does not prove I was walking. Maya displayed the final alert. 5,112 steps had been recorded after she left the house. Her location history placed her at Eleanor's apartment. Laura was attending a rehabilitation seminar. Colleen's business login placed her at her office. Exterior access records showed no one entered or left during the movement period. Only Daniel had been inside. He looked around the table. "You still don't have a face." "You are right," Maya said. The cameras were deleted before they could record one. Colleen pushed back her chair. Then, "This meeting is finished. Suspicion is not proof." Rebecca closed the file in front of her. "The bank is freezing all discretionary trust activity. Miss Hayes, your administrative authority is suspended. Miss Bennett, the bank will refer the billing and clinical records to Meridian Rehabilitation Center and the appropriate licensing authorities. Mr. Hayes, your statements and account activity will be included in the referral." Daniel turned toward Colleen. "You said the agreement would end this. It would have if you had followed the plan." Laura looked at him. "You said Maya would sign. Both of you were supposed to keep the records consistent." The argument began without Maya's involvement. Each of them blamed the others for the false invoices, the copied signatures, and the reports that no longer matched. Jonathan lifted the sealed evidence bag from the table. Daniel looked at it. "No," he said. Jonathan stepped toward the bank attorney. Daniel pushed the blanket from his legs. He placed both feet on the floor. Laura stopped speaking. Daniel gripped the arms of the wheelchair, lifted himself, and stood. For 1 second, he remained beside the chair. Then, he moved around the table toward Jonathan and reached for the evidence bag. A security officer stepped between them. "Stop where you are, sir." Daniel stopped. He had crossed several feet without assistance. Maya looked at the man she had bathed, dressed, lifted, and defended for 6 years. He was standing in front of the people he had tried to deceive, and no explanation could return him to the wheelchair. "You spent 6 years convincing me you could not stand," she said. "It took you 6 seconds to prove you could." Daniel turned toward her. "Maya, listen to me. I was going to tell you. When? I needed time. You had 6 years. You don't understand what recovery did to the trust. We could have lost the house. I did this for us." Maya removed the house keys from her purse and placed them on the table. "I did not abandon a husband who could not walk. I left a man who used his own 2 feet to walk across 6 years of my life." Daniel looked at the keys but did not reach for them. Rebecca informed everyone that the bank would preserve the records, maintain the freeze, and notify the relevant agencies. Maya's removal petition was suspended, and the accusations against her would remain under formal review until the evidence was processed. She did not wait for another statement from Daniel. Jonathan carried the evidence beside her as they walked toward the door. Behind them, Colleen and Laura continued blaming each other, while Daniel remained standing near the wheelchair he no longer needed to hide behind. Maya left the keys on the table and walked out without turning back. The investigation continued for 18 months, but the alliance between Daniel, Colleen, and Laura lasted less than 3 weeks. Once the bank preserved the original agreement and referred the records to outside investigators, each of them hired separate counsel. Colleen claimed Daniel had directed the transfers and provided Maya's identification. Daniel said Colleen had controlled the trust and assured him that every payment was legal. Laura insisted she had altered medical reports only because Daniel and Colleen told her the family would lose necessary care if his recovery became official. Their attempts to protect themselves produced records Maya had never been able to access. Colleen surrendered internal messages from Hayes Home Support, showing that Daniel had approved the false reimbursement amounts. Laura provided copies of nighttime training schedules and private progress notes documenting Daniel's ability to stand, balance, and walk without assistance. Daniel released emails in which Colleen explained how the money could pass through the joint account and make Maya appear responsible if anyone investigated. Each person confirmed part of the case while trying to place the largest share of blame on someone else. Commonwealth Heritage Bank completed its review first. Rebecca Sloan called Maya and Jonathan into the same conference room where Daniel had stood from his wheelchair. "The bank has found no evidence that you created, approved, or benefited from the disputed reimbursements," Rebecca said. "Your signatures were copied. The emails attributed to you were false, and the transfers were initiated without your authorization." Maya listened without interrupting. Rebecca continued. The petition to remove you as co-trustee has been dismissed. All findings against you have been withdrawn, and the bank will provide a formal letter confirming that you were the victim of identity misuse and coordinated financial fraud. For months, Maya had imagined that hearing those words would bring relief. Instead, she thought about how quickly her career had been suspended and how easily 6 years of sacrifice had been turned into evidence against her. Will the bank change its procedures? She asked. Rebecca nodded. A caregiver reimbursement will no longer be approved solely through a copied electronic signature. Independent confirmation will be required when a trustee is also listed as the recipient. That should have existed before. It should have. The city of Richmond reopened Maya's application after receiving the bank's letter. She returned first as a senior audit consultant, reviewing vendor contracts and care service payments. Her first assignment involved a group of home support companies billing the city for employees who had never completed a shift. The work felt familiar, but Maya was no longer the woman who had left the office at 24. She understood how fraud could hide inside family loyalty, medical language, and administrative convenience. She also understood why people failed to report warning signs when the person deceiving them was someone they loved. Eleanor remained close during Maya's first months back. On difficult mornings, they met at River Bend Diner before work. Eleanor still used the same mug with the faded words, "Numbers, don't take sides." "You were right," Maya said one morning. Justice wasn't loud. It rarely is. It was a folder placed on the right table. Eleanor smiled. And someone willing to finish the record. The consequences arrived slowly. Colleen lost control of Hayes Home Support after the company's contracts were suspended. She was ordered to repay the diverted trust funds and faced financial penalties for the false invoices and misuse of protected information. By the time the business closed, several former employees had given investigators records showing that Colleen had used similar billing methods in other accounts. Laura's professional license was revoked after the licensing board found that she had falsified clinical reports, concealed Daniel's recovery, and billed the trust through an undisclosed private company. She was required to repay the improper therapy payments. Her relationship with Daniel ended before the proceedings were complete. Daniel's trust access was terminated. His personal assets were frozen during the restitution process, and the Maple Ridge house was sold under the financial settlement. Maya received her lawful share, but she did not return to collect the furniture or medical equipment. Jonathan arranged for her remaining belongings to be delivered to a small townhouse near downtown Richmond. Daniel moved into a rented apartment after the sale. Without Maya organizing his meals, appointments, paperwork, and daily routine, he had to manage the life he had spent years pretending he could not handle. He could walk, but the lie had cost him the people, money, and home he had tried to preserve. Maya completed the divorce without meeting him privately. Daniel sent several messages through his attorney, asking her to consider what they had shared before the investigation. Her only response addressed the legal documents. 2 years after the night of the first movement alert, Maya entered Richmond City Hall wearing a new identification badge. Her old badge remained in a drawer at home, not as a reminder of the career she had lost, but as evidence that the person she had once been had never disappeared. The new badge carried her title, Deputy Director, Financial Integrity Unit. Her team investigated financial abuse involving public contracts, disability services, home care programs, and managed trusts. Maya required every investigation to distinguish between an administrative error and a pattern designed to exploit someone's dependence. Rosa occasionally assisted the unit as an advisor on caregiver practices. Rebecca helped develop new banking safeguards. Jonathan remained the attorney Maya called when a case crossed from poor management into deliberate fraud. Eleanor retired the following spring. At her farewell gathering, Maya gave her a new coffee mug printed with the same words as the old one. Eleanor turned it over in her hands. "The original still works." "So do you," Maya said. "But that doesn't mean you shouldn't accept something better." Months later, Maya helped establish the Garden of Silent Hands beside a community center, serving unpaid family caregivers. A bronze sculpture of 2 open hands stood near the entrance. Beneath it, a plaque carried the words Maya had chosen, "Care is a gift. No one has the right to turn that gift into a chain. At the dedication, Maya spoke about caregivers whose work was treated as an obligation rather than a choice. She did not mention Daniel by name. His deception had shaped part of her life, but it no longer deserved to define every room she entered. After the ceremony, she walked through the garden with Scout beside her. His steps had slowed with age, but he still stopped whenever he heard movement behind a closed door. Maya's phone vibrated. For a moment, her body remembered the old alarm. The screen displayed a message from her fitness application. Daily goal reached. 10,000 steps. She looked back at the garden, where Eleanor, Rosa, Jonathan, and several members of her audit team were speaking with caregivers who had attended the dedication. No one needed Maya to return to a house built around lies. No one was asking her to make herself smaller so they could remain comfortable. She placed the phone in her pocket and continued toward the gate. For 6 years, footsteps had warned Maya that someone was stealing her life. Now, every step carried her farther into a life no one else could control. This story reminds us that love and loyalty should never require us to surrender our dignity, identity, or right to the truth. True care is freely given, not something others have the right to exploit or turn into a chain. Thank you for listening to the very end of this story. Please share your thoughts on the storytelling and let us know how we can make future stories even better. And if you have a meaningful, inspiring, or real-life story you would like us to tell, please send it to our channel. Your story may become the encouragement someone else needs. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.